Good to go.
Hey, good afternoon, folks. Thank you for joining us at this special meeting of the Terrace Lodge Redevelopment Steering Committee. It's really more of an update than anything else of this committee, nothing earth-shattering, but we do have some agenda items we have to cover so that we can properly give a report to County Council at our next County Council meeting. So we'll call the meeting to order. Approval of the agenda. Do we, I forget, Julia, do I have to do recorded votes in that during the committee meeting or just charge on?
Yes, we should.
Okay, I'll arbitrarily pick a mover and a seconder.
So move, Bob.
Okay. Moved by Dave and seconded by Tom. Okay, any errors, omissions, anything else has to be added to the agenda? You got it ahead of time? Looks like it. Okay, we'll do a recorded vote. Start with the warden.
Sure, Mr. Warden.
Yes.
Deputy Warden Mennel,
Yes.
Councillor French,
Yes.
and Mr. Purcell.
Yes,
Mr. Chairman. Thanks. 4-0, the motion is carried.
okay, thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest at this time? Okay, hearing none, we'll move right on. We have some construction items to start with. We're going to do 5.1, the staff patio review, which is all good news. Who wants to take the lead on that?
I'd say Al or Victoria, did you want to speak to that?
Or I can.
There was a donation, excuse me, through the chair. There was a donation for a staff area. And MMMC has done a concept plan and some budgets. I don't know the confidentiality of the donors or whatever, so I won't say anything, or the dollar amount. There is a concept that MMMC has provided that gives an indication of what the proposal is for the staff area.
Thank you, Alan. I can add a little bit to that. It was a personal donation by a longtime partner or associate of Terrace Lodge, who has been involved with Terrace Lodge for many years. The announcements are going to come through our fundraising committee eventually, so that's why we're being a little bit quiet about it. It was very specific that the donation was for a space for the staff so that they had their own space where they could relax, have lunches, have breaks, etc. And also basically the donation is going to cover the full costing, which is phenomenal. So it's a very substantial donation via the fundraising committee. We're hoping that we can have the details announced at our next county council meeting, but that'll be up to the fundraising committee group to let us know that. So I think that's pretty much it, right, Ella?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
Okay, so that's basically all very good news. We'll move on to item 5.2, receiving area revisions. This is a bit of a problem child, but it's part of something we've already been made aware of. And I will point out to everyone that we do have a contingency fund we had set aside for exactly these types of items. So it will have no bottom line negative impact on our budget at this time. It'll just be part of that contingency fund. Alan, did you want to speak on this?
There was a 20-inch, sorry, I'm old school with feet and inches, discrepancy in dimensions from the constructed facility as it is now. So when we started to do the layout and design, we came across this 20-inch discrepancy in dimensions, and we made one alteration that was discussed at the previous steering committee in June. Part of the project has a center addition for an elevator and a receiving area. And when we did the layout for that, we came across a 20-inch dimension, which is related to the previous one. So MMMC has prepared PC, which is a proposed change on how we can overcome this 20 inches, which is making a small addition. It's at the new elevator, so to maintain the size of the elevator machine room, we shifted the elevator and made a small addition, 20 inches to the building. And we have costs, and that's what we're here to discuss today, is the additional costs.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Did anyone else want to add any further comments before I talk to the committee members? Okay.
I just point out that the size of the addition, the original size stayed the same. It wasn't necessarily an addition to, it was more modifications to suit the intersection with the existing building, but the size of the addition, it stayed as per the original tender drawings.
Thanks, Stephen.
Okay, this is really just to accommodate the full functionality once you found out that the things weren't exactly aligned the way they were intended on the original building. So council's been through that before, the committee members have. The total cost is $11,460 plus HST at this time. So I'll go around the table and we'll need a mover and seconder to accept this change. We'll start with the warden, and any comments you want to make as you move it or second it, that's fine.
I guess the question would be, is this an oversight from the start, or is it, we're all human?
This, excuse me, through the chair, this is, we use I believe they were classified as constructed drawings of the existing building. And there was a dimensional error that wasn't incorporated into the drawings that MMMC used to do their design and construction documentation. So this would have been a discrepancy that was from I know I'm going to get this wrong, from the 1976 construction. I think it's 1976 or 1973.
And that's been verified by our staff. I'm just, okay, I'm seeing Julie nodding her head, so then I have no problem with this, so I'll support it. Thank you for the explanation. That's all. I just want to clear it up.
Okay, David.
I'm fine with it, and I'll move.
Okay, and Mary.
I'm fine with it too, Bob, and I'll second it.
Okay, and then we'll do the recorded vote, Julie, if you don't mind.
Sure. Mr. Warden,
Yes.
Deputy Warden Mennel,
Yes.
Councillor French,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman. Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
Thank you. 4-0, the motion is carried.
Okay, thank you. Our next item is item 5.3, the kitchen AHU installation, revised installation schedule, and who would like to take the lead on this one?
I can take that, Mr. Chairman, as well. Terrace Lodge reported that they are having some problems with an existing air handling unit for the kitchen that provides cooling. The service contractor that the county has indicated that the cost for repair would be very expensive. And The county had approached the project team to see if there's an opportunity to, I guess, expedite delivery of some of the kitchen items before they're actually required. We're in phase 1 right now, and the kitchen modifications aren't until phase 2. Dee Grant, our construction manager, is looking to see how we can expedite, in, I guess, getting that unit earlier to save the repair. The problem with the unit is for cooling. And so the existing cooling season is close to being gone. And so if we can get something in place for early 2022, that would be beneficial. So the mechanical consultant and Dee Grant are looking at what can be done with the existing unit.
I think you're muted, Councillor Purcell.
Sorry. Basically, there's nothing for the committee to do at this time. It basically just get it on our radar so that we know what's going on and why the special attention in this area. Is that right?
Correct. I think the intent was this would be more of an information item as opposed to an action item.
Okay, I think the minutes can just reflect that. We don't need a vote to accept or anything. The additional staff parking. Michelle, did you want to lead on that or somebody else?
Sure, I can begin the conversation. Thank you, Councillor Purcell. So in the original plan, there are some 8 additional parking spaces that are planned, but I believe, and Victoria was trying to confirm that for me, that they won't be available to us until phase 3 or close to the end of the project. There was a few things that have occurred that have brought to our attention that there's some additional parking spaces to be considered. And one of those is relocation of the garbage dumpsters for the work being done in the receiving area and the elevator. So we did have to move dumpsters, and so we lost 3 parking spaces with that move. Additionally, it's been reported to us by staff that anywhere between 2 and 6 staff members are having to park on the grass at shift change. So between 1 and 2 p.m. or 1 and 2:30 p.m., we're noticing as many as 6 vehicles parked on the grass. And good news is that we've been approached by many local colleges to have quite a number of students come to our homes. So the accelerated PSW course and the PSW courses, there's a lot of colleges that are trying to find placements. So we're looking at 12 to 15 students per day on the day and afternoon shifts starting soon. So those additional parking spaces that we're going to require for the students when they're in our home. And then we were having some discussion about inclement weather and causing some damage to the grass or staff getting stuck when we have a lot of rain, or also losing some parking spaces if we have heavy snow and just having to put that snow someplace. So it did bring to the heightened awareness to the team that we needed to have a conversation about parking spaces. And so maybe I'll ask Victoria, she's come up with a couple of options to share. So I'll turn it over to her to share those options.
Sure. Should I share my screen? Is that okay?
I think that's appropriate.
Second. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the first option. This is the existing staff parking lot, and we're looking at adding 9 spaces on the west side, 3 spaces in each existing row. So the only concern with this option is that we start to get pretty close to the 2-meter setback from the property line, and therefore may run into some of the existing trees specifically this one and this one here. So we're still investigating the size of those trees and the quality, and can check with our landscape consultant for a recommendation on whether or not those trees can be removed. If we would like to retain the trees, then 6 spaces could likely still be added. We would just end the extension here so as not to interfere with these 2 trees. And then the other option for adding spaces, I need to change. Okay, and then this is the other option. This is the laneway that runs from the main entrance to the staff parking lot at the back. So there's lots of space here where spots could be added. We're showing 6 at the moment. However, this is not the preferred option because the location of the spaces isn't very convenient for staff to get to either entrance of the building. As far as cost, Daryl recommended about $2,000 per parking spot as a figure to work with. So for 6 spaces, we've rounded up to $15,000 as an estimate to account for some contingencies. And for the 9 spaces shown in the previous option, we would estimate about $25,000. Al or Michelle, is there anything you'd like to add?
Nothing for me.
And nothing further from me, but happy to take any questions.
Okay, I'm gonna start with a question for Michelle. Which option is preferred by you and the staff? Because the committee members aren't parking there every day like you are.
Thank you. So option 1 is definitely preferred just from an access and safety point. Easier.
That's the 9 spots.
Correct. And just the
And-
distance and not having to go down a hill and when it's maybe icy, that type of thing to get to the entrance or the exit.
Yeah, I'll go around the table for the committee members, but obviously I recommend to them that they listen to our staff for a practical solution on this. So option A would be the preferred one. The trees and that, obviously, there are ways you can work around that. There is a bit of space at the what I call the bottom of that option A. So and I see that we're getting some head nodding there, so we can handle that, right, Victoria?
Yes, I believe we can.
Okay, then I'll go around the table, ask any questions you would like, and get a mover and seconder, and then we'll vote. We'll start with the warden, please.
I have no problem with option A, but is that enough? Should we be doing both for a bit of an overflow and do it once rather than find out down the road we're short and have to go through the mess again? Or is this going to solve the problem permanently, these extra 9?
That's a great question, and I'm happy to speak to that a little bit. We did the second option, we were actually looking at more of sort of an overflow for the visitor parking spaces, because the last time I went to Terrace Lodge, I had difficulty finding a parking spot. So we did an audit and looking at available parking spots, and that just seemed to be a one-off that particular day. The other days there seemed to be 10 to 12 available parking spots in that visitor parking lot. So I think with the 9 spaces and knowing we have 8 more coming in the future, as a group, the administrator and myself and Mr. Bunch, who had some conversation, we feel like the 9 spaces would probably suffice, knowing that we've got 8 more coming. So we could put the students in the visitor parking lot if we needed to at times, if there is availability there. Great question though.
Okay, then I'm fine. If you need a mover, I'll move it when we get to that.
Go right ahead. We'll accept that as a move, and we'll start with Mary next, please.
I have no problem with this, Bob. I agree that that's probably the best option, and now's the time to do it, not later. We find this in a lot of projects that we realize that we've made some mistakes with parking. So I'm glad that we're addressing this now, and I think it's a good option.
And you're willing to second it?
Certainly.
Okay, and Dave?
Yeah, I'm good with the recommendation, and certainly I've seen the tree space do wonderful jobs of very mature trees where you literally pick them up and they're growing the next day, and you don't even know that they've been moved.
Okay, thank you. Julie, if you'd be kind enough to go ahead with the vote for us, please.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, if I may, just before you have a vote.
Certainly.
The budget costs were, there was a caveat on the budgeting costs that the work would be done whilst the excavation contractor was still there with equipment on site. The cost would go up if we have to float equipment back in and do the work. So whilst the equipment's there is how that budget number was determined.
Okay, that's great, and that's why this motion will allow you to proceed immediately or as quick as practical. Is that fair?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Julie, please.
Thanks. Mr. Warden,
Yes.
Deputy Warden Mennel,
Yes,
Councillor French,
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes,
4-0, the motion is carried.
and I was distracted for a few moments there. I'm starting to get back on stage. That's one of the joys of a virtual meeting. Just so full disclosure, my office overlooks our back door, and I had a grandson and some friends and a bunch of grandchildren show up that were unexpected. You might hear four-wheelers in the background. They came down from the Kitchener-Waterloo area, and I think they're invading my pool. So there was a minor distraction for a few moments there, but it's probably one of the better kind of distractions you can have. So, did I skip the minutes, or did we get those done properly, Julie? Jenna?
the minutes are done.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to item number 6, the construction schedule, and who would like to address that, please?
I can answer that one, that's fine. So we're, from the previous steering committee meeting, we indicated that due to the building shift, we were looking at a extension onto the phase 1 construction schedule, which would put the turnover of the main addition for the tail end of August of next year, which to report on, we're currently on track on that position or schedule. The only item which does not affect the overall timeline is just the receiving area on the construction schedule. So it will slightly shift with, no pun intended on the building shift change within the PC that was issued, but it does not affect our end date. So.
Okay, thank you, Daryl. Any questions on the building schedule while Daryl's here from any of the committee members? Seeing none, we're rolling along pretty much as planned, so that's greatly appreciated. Any other business that we have to cover? I don't believe so, and as we did.
Sorry, if I may,
Sorry.
Mr. Chairman,
Certainly.
we did approve today's agenda, but did not consent to the minutes.
I thought I had missed those, so I'm gonna ask for a mover and seconder. I was not at that meeting, so I can't really comment on how accurate the minutes are.
I'll move it.
Moved by Dave,
Second.
seconded by Tom. All in favor of the minutes?
Mr. Warden,
Yes.
Deputy Warden Mennel,
Yes,
Councillor French,
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
4-0, the motion is carried.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Any other items? Okay, the other thing is, the next meeting, if the committee is satisfied with it, we'll do what we're doing now when we have to get together and we have something substantial to report and we want to do an update to county council. We'll call another meeting like this, and we do appreciate you. Okay, motion to adjourn.
Marks.
Moved by Tom, second by Mary. Go ahead, Julie.
Mr. Warden,
Yes.
Deputy Warden Mennel,
yes.
Councillor French,
Yes.
Councillor Purcell.
Yes.
4-0, the motion is carried.
And again, folks, thanks for getting together, and for all the staff and that are working on this. Thanks for keeping it on schedule. And even with these minor adjustments that are going on, we really are within budget. So thank you, folks. Have a great afternoon.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.